Right, in this video, what we're going to do is just clean up a little bit of our code and make sure that we're displaying the question and displaying all the possible answers to your questions as well. So to start off with, I'm going to go down to where I've got this new procedure, which is called hide start, which is inside my GUI procedure. So here I also want to just put a few comments to saying what this kind of stuff does. So this one, just going to say removes start button. This one, space, runs first question. And then this one, this bit, I'm going to put it above because it's several lines. Displays next button on the screen. Okay, so we should usually try and put comments for everything. You see, I've been a little bit relaxed on this, where I've got image for the next button I've written there, but that's actually the image for buttons just in general. Although my one is actually the same, I could have used the same one. Just put a comment here for these. First multiple choice question or answer. And then just copy that down at B, put that in, keep it indented. Let's put seconds down here, indent that. Third, and down here, fourth. Right, okay, so then put here what I want this to say. So start button, which appears at the beginning. Okay, so that's all fixed up. Now what we want to do is look at how to get the rest of those answers, right? So the answers from, I'm going to go up to here to display question again. Now, we haven't done this bit that says display random question. What we're going to do is just write a comment here saying calls read file and stores questions in 2D array. Okay, now I might actually put that just above it because it's quite long, or well, no, I'll leave it there. Here, these two lines just say that imports variable and increments it. And here we can then write displays question and multiple choice answers, although it doesn't quite do that yet. Okay, but what we're going to do is do basically the same as we've done for these ones here, where we're doing text and we've got data 0 and 1. Later on, we're going to change this a little bit where they have this 0. We're going to put a random number because what we've written here is display random question. So we will want it to be a random one that we get here, which will be quite interesting to be able to do this, okay? Get random questions instead. So the next thing what we want to do is just get those multiple choice answers. Now that's easy because we've already got these set up as globals, button A, B, C, and D. So we just need to write those in here, display question, and we'll do btn a dot config open brackets, and then you're going to write text is equal to data square bracket, we're going to put 0 here. So we're just in the first question for the moment. And then what is the multiple choice answers? Right, well, you need to open up that text file and just make sure you know which ones are which, right? So this number 1 is 0, that was 1, right? So that's why we've got this 1 here, okay? So if that's 1, the first multiple choice answer is this one, so this will be 2, then it's 3, then it's 4, and then it's 5, right? As long as you've got 4 multiple choice answers. If you've only got 3, then it's different, okay? So you just have to number and just make sure the index starts at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So I'm just counting up to the next one, so it's going to be 2. Square brackets 2, and then close those parenthesis brackets. Right, we'll test it just before we do the rest of them. So do 1 and then test them. Begin. Right, so it says system software in here. Okay, so that's happened. Good. You notice way here, and then if I click on it, it's done that, which is brilliant. Okay, so it does that, works. Now, the next one, I'm just going to copy it and change 2 things. So I need all 4. First of all, I'm going to change this bit. So it says B, C, and D from my multiple choice answers. And then the number here, 2, it's going to be 3, then it's going to be 4, and then it's going to be 5. All right. So run it now and give it a go. Let's see what happens. Start, and there we go. Brilliant. I can now see those multiple choice questions. So now what I want to do is obviously think about, well, which one have I picked? If I've picked one and then I press next, I want that score to either change or stay the same. And then I also want this question to change. Now, of course, at the minute you can see the only thing that's changing is this question. Every time I press here, this question number is changing, but the question's not changing. So before we do any of the rest of that, what we're going to do is, first of all, introduce random, because you want to have random questions come up. You don't want it always to be the same questions in the same order. You can imagine that could be a little bit funny, just always have the same questions every time you run your quiz. Now, to do this, there is a random function that you can use, and that random function, so imagine here I've got open, that's a function called open to be able to open a text file. I've got other ones, not many though, in my code. Actually, I'm using hardly any built-in functions, to be honest, but we've got all the tkinter functions that we're using. So the next thing I need to do is import another module, and this is the random module. So we've got a function in the random module, right? The random has a whole lot of functions that you can use. So I can show you, for example, if I type in Python random, we can get the docs for that, the documents. Here it is, Python random, generate pseudocode random numbers. And it gives you a whole lot of blurb about it, but it tells you about the different ones you can do. So there's bookkeeping functions, random.seed, random.getState, random.get rand bits, functions for integers, random.rand range, randint, that is the one we want to use. We're going to use this random.randint, and then it says A and B. So you have to give the first number and then the last number. Okay, so let's look at how to do that. So up here, we're going to first of all do from random imports, and we just want randint to do that. Okay, we just do that random. Now we've imported that, we can use randint, this function. It's now available to be used. So in here, we're going to, so this is the this bit, so we will go down another couple of lines in our display question, and we'll just write generate random question number. Okay, so what we will do is call this random q equals, and then it is rand int was the function, open and close brackets. And what did we have to put in it? Well, just check it again. So rand int, we have to give the first number from a number to a range number. So it was from this number to the other number that we wanted to do. Okay, so from A to B. So what we will do at the minute, we will do 0, because that will be, if you think of this list that we have here, this list, the very first question is 0. So we want it to be from 0 up to the last one. Now, how do we find out the last one? That will be the interesting thing to do. So I've got to do comma here and put something else into this. But what we can actually do is get the length of data. So data is this text file, or all the information in the text file. It's not the text file, but all the information in it. And we want to get the length of this. Now, the length of this isn't going to count each character. It's going to count each item in my list. So this is going on to separate lines. But if you look at it like this, and it needs to be quite long for you to see it completely the way it should be, like that. I've got 5 in total. Now, to get the length of it, we can use a special built-in function called len. And I'm going to just put that in here because I wanted to do rand int from 0 to the whatever length of questions I have. So this is really nice because you could keep on adding new questions, and that's not going to, you're not going to need to change any code. It'll always just get the length. So len data. Now len data, that's going to return a number. So that's going to give us a number here. So it's going to be 0 to whatever number that is. Now, if we try this, it might not work, and there will be a reason for that. So if we run this, it's going to work straight first of all, but when I press on this, and it seems to work fine, the random integer for the moment, but let's see if there's any problems with it later. Okay, so this generates the random number. So now this random q, which is the random question number, we want to replace this 0 every time with this random q, because that random q is the number of our question from 0. This first one 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. So remember that it is 4 is this one. Okay, so if I then take random q, I'm going to just copy that one part of it, go into here, take the 0 away, paste that in. So it's inside my square brackets. It's quite code starts to look very complicated now, but because we're doing it one bit at a time, hopefully you'll really understand what's going on here. And run it again. Okay, I've now got a random different question. Now, the only problem I've got with my question, as you can see, is that all the text doesn't quite fit into these boxes unless I make my quiz bigger. Okay, so you've got two options. Either if you've been doing it with if you've done all your buttons and so on using relative width and height, I have for my quiz, but you may not have been. You might have to just adjust them. You've got the choice of either changing that, so your geometry. So this is under GUI. You've got Windows geometry, which is the window size. This here is the Windows icon. Although this doesn't actually work on my Mac because Macs don't display icons. As you can see here, there's no icons anywhere. But this I can just change to make it be a bit bigger. So if I do 800, you can now see it's going to be wider. And I press start. The questions now fit in there. And of course, if I make it bigger. So that's one way to do it. The other way you could do it if you want is just actually to display all of this information up here in this box, and then just here put A, B, C, D, and you could actually just have that fixed every time that it would have that instead of having these answers. But unless all of your answers are short answers, this just happened to be a bit long, this one, for some of them. Okay, now I can see I'm getting a couple of error messages now. When I do next, going on to next question, so let's have a look at this. And I thought that this might happen, so I'm going to go up to where I've got my display question, run this again, and just have a look what's happening here. Right, so as soon as I pressed it, I got this index error, list index out of range. Now, what's actually happening here is this, our random generated number, it's including a number that's not available. Okay, and the reason for that is because this length, the length is, what is the length? Well, if I look at my questions, the length is, and this is one that really would throw a lot of students out. Like, I mean, when I say throw them out, confuse you. I've got 5 questions, right? So I've got them numbered. So the length is equal to 5. But what's the index number of this last question? Well, the index number of this last question is 4. So there actually is no 5. There isn't actually a 5. So I can't do a 5 on this. All right, so this length equals to 5. So 0 to 5. So 5 is not possible. So what do I do to solve that? Well, it is super easy. On the end of this length function, which is equal to a number, in between these brackets, I just put -1. And then that will be, at the moment, because I've only got 5 questions, this will equal to 4 out of my 5 questions. And that means that this random queue would go 0 to 4, essentially. But if I add more questions, it would then go to the pre-ultimum of that. Right? So now, with that -1, if I just press this several times, it's now not getting any errors anymore because I'm not going past the index number for this bit here, because this was the error that came up. It came up with this, and it came up basically saying that random queue list was out of index, and that was the problem with it. So that's that sorted for your question and your multiple choice answers. So the next bit would be to think about how to then, once you've answered a question, you would need to check the question, check the answer that's been picked. Now, to think about that, you've got to think of what's happening here. Well, what's happening here is, you can see when I press a button, I wanted that when I'm pressing my next button. My next button runs display question at the minute. Okay, so we could actually change that a little bit later and have it to check answer, to check an answer and then display the next question. But as you can see here, we've got this where we're actually looking at what button press does. So if button pressed is equal to 1, it's changing that to white. And if it's equal to 2, it's changing it to white instead, and 3 and 4. Okay, so that's what it does. Now, if we look at our questions, we do have, or you should have, a number on the end of each question, which indicates which one is the correct answer. So what we would have to do now is think of building up another procedure that would actually look at the answer and compare it to this one. So that will be in the next video.